A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back once again to Video Games That Are Totally Awesome. So for this instance, here on Friday, as things are pretty much looking up, with thankfully the problems with my camera being resolved, and the problems with my hand injury about to be fully healed, I will say that there will thankfully be a lot of new things to look forward to, and hopefully with no more of these problems in life. Because I feel like I've suffered enough this whole year. In any case though, one more game I'm going to be talking about for this week. And what I have in mind is known as Rallycross. This is a piece of Sony Interactive Entertainment released all the way back on the PlayStation 1 in 1997. And as of January 2024, has been re-released as part of the PlayStation Plus Classics catalog. It's fair to say that a good amount of old school games on the PlayStation consoles that I've talked about over the years are coming back on PlayStation Plus. And well, I'm glad to finally revisit a good majority of them. It's not just with some of these old games on the PlayStation, but with the others as well. PS2, PS3, PS4, even though that's not exactly as classic as it could be. If PlayStation 8 comes out, maybe we'll talk a bit more about PlayStation 4 games in a future season of Video Games That Are Totally Awesome. But we're not quite at the point where we even have announcements on the so-called PlayStation 6. By then, who knows what could go on. Anyways though, Rallycross is, as the title suggests, a series of rally racing that takes place in various parts of the world. While it's not exactly a more realistic setup here, kind of like when I talked about Cool Borders, Rallycross does talk a bit more about its own sort of fictional or make-believe set of layouts. These courses in particular do range from different biomes like the desert, the jungle, the ruins, etc. And there's also a good variety of different cars out there. So you do get yourself a good selection of things, but unfortunately, unlike with Cool Borders, Rallycross mostly has the cars pre-made and designed, and numbered as well. With most racing games, you'd have the option to set upon a livery, customize different parts of the body, and tuning of the engine, and even put in your own number. But in Rallycross, a game that's unfortunately a bit primitive. And so, that's basically what it all is about. I will say that for 1997, it does play along pretty well for a rally-styled racing game, but because of its primitive aspects, much like with Cool Borders, I can't really say all that much positivity about it. I will say that playing through it for a couple hours worth on PlayStation Plus last March, when the game was relatively new for PlayStation Plus, since then there's certainly been a lot of new additions to PlayStation Plus overall, and I'm more than proud for what they were able to accomplish overall. But let's be real though. For something like this, Sony Interactive Entertainment, with a series of racing that goes to championships, time trials, etc., and there's even a co-op mode that allows for up to 4 players. Yeah, 4 players. I honestly couldn't imagine having a PlayStation console with all 4 controllers hooked up and a screen having to be shared by 4 people. But nowadays, with how big TVs can pretty much get, with some getting as high as 100 inches, and I can't imagine having something like that in this house, I'm sure that 4-player co-op would be a lot easier to work with. But back then, with TVs mostly being smaller than 30 inches, you couldn't really rely on that sort of logic of having larger screen sizes to accommodate larger fields of vision so that everybody can have a good, clear vision of what's ahead of them. But I guess one other thing would be necessary here though, and that even though this is PlayStation 1, it probably wouldn't kill to have some customization here. Even Cool Borders, despite how it lacked a few different customization options to it, it still allowed for you to choose between a male and a female avatar and different pre-selected outfits for them, as well as different snowboards with different colors. So I don't know exactly what it was with Rallycross. And this game, for the record, came out the year after Cool Borders was released. So, what's going on here? Did Sony fall behind the likes of Cool Borders and their developmental team? Which unfortunately went defunct a few years later, but still, for the time, they knew how to pull off a snowboarding game and walked so that other games in the future, like Steep and Riders Republic, could run. But in the case of Rallycross, there are other games out there that have since come around. Gran Turismo, of course, has their own network of rally car racing, as well as with the Crew series, Project Cars, Dakar Rally Racing, WRC, and even the Overpass series. They all have their own specialties in the rally racing program. But most importantly, they've all kept the rally racing tribute alive. And with real-life rally racing still being a pretty high-value tradition amongst car performers, tuning specialists, and automobile enthusiasts alike, it's clear that rally racing is still a big trendy topic worth talking about, even if it's not as huge as some other trends, which nobody needs to be following right now. So for that reason, and many other things I've had to say about Rallycross, for a game that's now 28 years old, we're just going to go ahead and give it a good scoring here. 7.2 out of 10.1. Maybe not that good for what it is, but it does suffice just well as it is. Cool Borders also got a bit of a positive feedback from me as well, and you can always check out that episode here on this channel. But for next week, I'll have more episodes lined up, and I feel like we could probably get a little more of the Undead retrospective, because I've talked a lot about the Dead Rising games, and while I plan on saving the rest of them for later, I'll pretty much do other zombie-related games. Like how about Dead Island, or House of the Dead? Red Dead Redemption? Who really knows? Anyways, though, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.